We're on the hunt for our varilla choppers. Orlando told us that they were cutting the varilla, which are the horizontal thin cross pieces that hold the thatch. And there they are. But first we found this clump of varilla on the ground. There they are, and there's the choppers. I met her on a Sunday.
One of the main goals in building our cabana is to be as eco-friendly and sustainable as possible. So we wanted to use local labor, local materials, and local building techniques. And sometimes it's not as eco-friendly as you might think.
We were under the impression that varilla was not a mangrove because we asked our man Orlando if varilla was mangle, which is mangrove in Spanish, and he said no, varilla is not mangle because mangle is protected and you can't cut mangle. So we thought that meant that it was not a mangrove. But we just, when we found our actual guys who were cutting the wood and asked them what the varilla was, which tree it was, they pointed to this guy right behind me, which is definitely a mangrove. Now we want to go and try and find and look at what a mangle is. We found what the guys told us is the mangle. It's this mangrove behind with the broad leaves and the real long stilt roots. Could be one of the reasons it's protected is because of the erosion control on the banks of the esteros, as opposed to the one that we are getting the varilla for, which is karuma. And the karuma has the pneumatophores that come from below out of the ground. This is the karuma, and that's the mangle, which is protected and has the stilt roots growing side by side in harmony. This has made us realize, unfortunately, that they're cutting some mangrove for the small support pieces. It looks to be maybe the young ones, potentially that wouldn't survive because of the large adult trees around it. So could potentially be an okay form of harvesting wood. And in the market, apparently, you get a dozen of the varilla for 30 cords, and so 2.5 cords per each, 10 cents about. And the one that we just looked at, which was a big one, was 15 years old. We found one of the karuma trees that was cut for the varilla, and there's the top of it, and you can actually see the rings really well. They're kind of flaking off. It's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And so 10 cents for a 15-year-old trunk. We need 17 dozen for our 18 by 18 cabana roof. But there's a lot of it. It's thick growing in here, and the way they're cutting it seems to be just thinning the stand. They're not cutting a big swath of it, so it could be a pretty sustainable, selective cutting of it. We're not sure yet. Come on.
Good girl. Good girl.
If I had a braid in my hair, I could just plug it in. Like a mind meld. Avatar.